Let's take a quick look at the design workflow for building a website or any digital product for that matter. What we've been starting and what we've been dealing with is primarily the build process in HTML and CSS, but it's worth pointing out that that is the very last stage of a long process that gets you to that. First of all, you may be given a problem, and if you're given a problem, then you're going to need to use design research and design thinking to look into the background of that problem, and you're going to need to look into researching the right thing to build for your customer. Let's just assume you've been tasked with building a website. In that case, you still have to do some of that research, but probably not quite as much. The next thing that you would need to do, if you haven't done this already in that design research phase, is to at least build a persona. I'll show demonstrations of all of this stuff in just a minute. From there, you need to look at some content analysis. What are you actually making? What's the content of this? Somehow get that into a sitemap, which gives you an at-a-glance look at the whole website. Then start trying to structure that into some kind of page order, usually very low fidelity on pen and paper to start off with in a wireframe, then maybe moving it digitally for a digital wireframe. And then you're going to have to start thinking, well, how does this wireframe become an actual design? If you've never designed before, then a good place to start is just by creating a mood board. What's the kind of mood, the feeling that you're trying to get across? And from there, you can then probably consider something along the lines of the kind of color scheme that you want to create. And a simple one-page design style tile is something that might come out of that. From there, you at least want to then create the pages that you want to make and do them in a design package, not in HTML or CSS. When you know what each page is going to look like, it's so much easier for you to create that structure in HTML and CSS. So this is a persona. The persona really it's kind of fictitious, but it's based on research, people that you've spoken to. In other words, you've talked to people and you've got an understanding of their background and you've got an understanding of their goals. Really, it's those things that you're really looking for, is scenarios, goals, the kind of thing that people are doing and the goals that they're trying to achieve. If you know the goals, then you understand a little bit about what they're hoping to do on the website, and that should help you structure your content. For your content analysis, you need to look and survey what needs to go into the site. You then need to start to structure that content. Maybe do something like conducting a card sorting test. That is a very hands-on practical way of testing out all the different areas of content and putting it in front of your ideal users, and they would then start to tell you what makes sense for them, what things go together, and that should help you with that. And then start writing your content. A sitemap just gives you an at-a-glance look at all the pages. This is very simple. It's just a few simple pages on here, but this is kind of the structure. It just helps you to build menus and things like that, and you know how many pages are going to be in the site itself. The wireframe should start on pen and paper, really, because it's so much easier to draw rectangles on pen and paper. Use grid paper if you can. The main thing here is to have it well labeled so that people really understand what the content is on the page. Empty boxes don't mean anything to anybody, so that's the main thing for that. You can also start testing at this point, which is really important for you. Once you've done that, you probably want to make that wireframe digital, and a great way to do that is to use something like Adobe XD, and they even have a free wireframing toolkit called Wires, and that will help you out immensely. It's worth pointing out that at this stage, this is not a design. This really is just blocks of content. From the wireframe, you then really want to start thinking, how do I make this into a design? There's your mood board. You may, from the mood board, start to pull out colors and choose the pictures here. They don't have to be the pictures of the thing you're trying to build, but the pictures that give you the mood you're trying to get across is probably a good way of doing it. A style tile is really simple. It's just a one page that shows you all the colors, the kind of imagery you're going to use in it, icons that you might use, what buttons might look like, any interface elements, what your headers might look like, what your text might look like, that kind of thing. This is a totally different design, but just from there, you just need to at least show what all the pages are going to look like, and you can see the consistency across those pages. Once you've done that in a design package, because it's far easier to do in a design package, you can then finally move to the HTML and CSS and start to recreate that in there.